Hey everybody, I'm Chris Daigle. I am a business owner like you. My primary business is business development for enterprise-sized clients. I also do a lot of business coaching, mentorship for entrepreneurs, small businesses, and I'm an investor. I invest in small businesses as well. The reason that we're doing this today, first I want to welcome you. The focus of today is the creation of a 90-day war plan for your business, and it bleeds over into your personal life. If you're an entrepreneur, there's probably not much difference between business and entrepreneurship. So, pardon me, I've got some notes that I'll be going through today. I'll be doing some screen shares and that sort of thing. Primarily, we're going to be focusing on 3 areas for your war plan to make sure that your business is viable for the next 90 days and beyond. The first part we're going to be talking about is a cash flow plan for the next 90 days for your business. Then we'll be moving into a business strategy plan. And then we'll be moving into a messaging and a communication plan for your prospects, clients, and your team. So, pardon me, one of the things that all of us started 2020 with, I'm sure, were big plans for scaling the business. And what I'm going to be sharing with you today is based on conversations with at least 100 CEOs, founders, business leaders, high achievers in entrepreneurship, businesses ranging in size from around $1 million a year in revenue to over $350 million a year in revenue. So we're going to run the gamut regardless of the size of your business. I think there's going to be some major takeaways. Everything that I'm sharing here is based on a specific protocol and criteria of questions that I've been asking, looking for some solutions that I can share with the entrepreneurship or the entrepreneurial world at large. So again, we're going to be focusing on a 90-day war plan that includes a cash flow plan, a business strategy plan, and your messaging and communication plan for the marketplace. As I referenced in 2020, at the beginning of the year, we all wanted to scale. Most people right now that I'm talking to are saying, let's stabilize the business first. And that's the goal of this 90-day plan. In a crisis, a business business owner, you, the viewer, can do one of 3 things. You can react, you can respond, or you can initiate. The focus of what we're doing here is we're going to create an environment where you, the entrepreneur, are able to initiate, okay? So I saw a quote from a friend of mine on Facebook the other day. He said, "Pivot, not pause." I'm sure he borrowed that from somebody else, but it was relevant because right now you cannot hold flat in this market. This is not an extended vacation, early spring break. Maybe for the kids it is. I'm sure a lot of you are working with kids at home. But one of the things that I'm going to do is kind of explain the 4 paths of businesses as it was taught to me by a brilliant gentleman named Taki Moore. And there's 4 paths that your business can take over the crisis, let's say through the end of this year. So one of the things we're going to do is, again, I'm not the tech guy, but we're going to get techie with a little screen sharing. Come on, baby. And what I want to do here in this next phase is kind of explain to you the 4 paths that your business can take over the next 12 months, depending on the course of actions that you initiate right now. The first one is you do nothing. You keep business as usual, play the ostrich, right? And just cross your fingers that things are going to just be A-okay for you. If you do that, the gradient of your business, if this is a flat line, the gradient of your business is going to drop and drop pretty significantly. You may not make it past the 90-day cycle that we're talking about right now. And most definitely, unless you get really lucky or have super deep pockets, you're not going to make, your business won't be around. You'll be clearing the field for those of us who are around and they're marketing in your niche. The second course of action would be to start to understand that there's a new paradigm and make some changes to your business, some small changes to your business. What's going to happen if you make those small changes is pretty much the same thing. Flatline here, your business will more than likely see a pretty significant drop in, if you make if you make it for the next 90 days, your business may see a pretty big drop. If you start to modify based on the war plan that we're going to work out today, worst case scenario, your business is going to just maintain. As we talked about, we're going to focus on stabilizing, not necessarily scale in the next 90 days. Not discouraging it, but encouraging you to focus on stabilization first. And then finally, if you deploy everything that we talk about in this 90-day plan, if this being a flat line over the next 12 months, your business should see a pretty steep gradient. There's going to be an incredible amount of opportunity that exists. A quote that was shared with me by Todd Herman during a virtual summit last week was that fear lives in stagnant water. And how that relates to us is that if we do nothing right now, that stagnant water is going to be our business environment, and we're going to die. We're essentially, hopefully not literally die, but the business certainly will meet its demise. One of the things that I'm noticing in the dialogue that I'm having with these business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders is there's optimism everywhere. So if you're not feeling it, you're hanging out with the wrong people, you're watching the wrong Facebook Lives, you're getting your input from the wrong sources. And that's a topic for another day. But guard the input that you're getting, because the voices that I'm hearing are people who have an expectation and an anticipation and a level of excitement about thriving personally and in their business over the next 90 days and beyond. So optimism is everywhere. Market share is becoming available because, let's say, for instance, all of the retail businesses that might have been considered competition, they're going bye-bye. Or they're at least shut down for now. So you've got, if you're an online business or have made a pivot to going from retail to online for your business, e-commerce, then you've got you're doing the right things. Your business will at least start to see a baseline over the next 90 days. So, and if you have questions, you can certainly post them. I'll be looking at the Facebook Live as well as here on the webinar through Zoom. Let's start with talking about a cash flow plan. So the amount of capital that you have available for your business right now, let's call that your runway. The more runway that you have, the more time you have to consider your options. And being in an environment where you're rushed doesn't always give you the opportunity to make the best decisions in your business. So what we're going to be focusing on in this cash flow plan is expanding that runway for you so that you've got time to evaluate the opportunities and the choices that you make. And a quote that I've heard from the folks at Story Brand, Donald Miller, was that we're no longer playing chess in business. At this point, we're playing tennis. And what he meant by that was in business, you have time to take measured actions and evaluate next course of action. Right now, we do not. This is a game of quick action, tennis versus chess. So if you keep that in mind, that should certainly help you calibrate the velocity at which you need to be making decisions in your business and taking actions. And those actions are going to be hard to take if you find yourself binging on Ozark, perhaps. So let's talk about the cash flow plan. I've mentioned this in a few videos that I've shot recently about creating this environment of thresholds, milestones, pressure valves within your business. So what we're going to be looking for is creating a scenario where you've got data, you can see a data significant trend, and that will indicate whether or not the business is compromised, okay? For instance, if evaluating the runway, if you've got $250,000 in the bank, you've got $25,000 in the bank, depending on the size of your operation, understanding that we're going to evaluate what the operating costs are for the business. And I'm going to run you through an opportunity to not only decrease the amount of cash coming out of the business, but also how to access capital for operations so that you are simultaneously you're getting a synergistic effect for extending that runway. But again, the concept here is understanding what the nut is for your business, mapping out how long that runway will allow you to operate at the existing nut. We're going to look at ways to trim that requirement, the nut, so that you are pushing that out. And then again, we're going to talk about how to get access to capital. I would advise that any milestones that we're measuring this on, there's going to be one that we measure on a daily basis. And what I would encourage you to do, and if you're not taking notes, this would be a great time to consider that. I'm not a slide guy so much or anything like that, but I will certainly be answering questions and make myself available after this to answer any questions or do some one-on-ones with anybody if they need a little extra clarification on these points. The first thing we want to identify is our daily nut. That's very simple formula. Whatever it's costing us to operate our business on a monthly basis, split it up into 30. That gives you and your team a target on a daily basis to know almost real time, are we meeting our obligation for the 90-day Warplan, the milestones that we've set? Are we meeting our daily obligation? And it's the saying, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? If your monthly nut might be $100,000 and you wake up on day one of the next 30 days and you're like, holy shit, how do I make 100 grand? We don't need to create any additional mental challenges for ourselves. We need to make things as simple as possible. It's much easier to figure out how you make 3 grand today than it is to make $100,000 in a month. So the numbers work out the same, or $3,333. The numbers work out the same. However, up here, it's not the same. It's a small, attainable goal. It's not a big, hairy, audacious goal, okay? Once you figure out your daily nut, now let's talk about some strategies to decrease the amount of cash coming out of the company. If you haven't done this yet, I'm sure the entire world has started on this process, whether it's on a personal level or a business level, is we're going to evaluate the outflow of our company by looking not only at bank accounts, credit card statements, debit cards, that sort of thing. Anything that is a mechanism of transferring money out of your company, let's evaluate at least the last 30 days, preferably the first quarter, or as much of the first quarter as you can, and look at the expenses that are going out. We're going to look for anything that's not related to producing revenue. At this point, I would question if it was a necessary expense if it's not related to producing revenue. So we're going to create a category as we're reviewing our expenses and identify if it's not related to key business functions or it's not related to producing revenue. Let's move that into a category that becomes questionable and on the table for the next strategies that we're going to talk about, which is actually reducing or deferring the payments for those services if you identify that they are not revenue producing and not contributing to key values in the business. And one of the, a little tool that I learned from Mike at Profits First was ask myself a question as you're going through these expenses. Do I need this expense today? Can I put this expense off for one more day? And that's just the game that you keep playing. Can I put it off for one more day? Can I put it off for one more day? And eventually you're going to find yourself in a situation where you realize this is not a necessary expense. It's discretionary, nice to have, but not necessary. Or you'll get to the point where you're like, now is the time when I need that subscription, that service, whatever, that vendor, the consultant, coach, or whatever. And then at that point, you make the determination on whether or not to deploy the capital in that direction, but you didn't do it prematurely. Okay. Another hack that Mike shared on a recent webinar that he did was kind of brute force and pretty simple. I'm sure some of you have thought about this, but cancel all your cards. Not cancel, call and get all of your cards reissued. What will happen is that obviously any recurring, because some of you might look at your credit card statements and rather not go into it line by line because there's a lot of line items. Get the cards reissued with new numbers. What will happen is that it'll automatically, upon the attempted rebilling, they will be met with a decline for those services. They'll reach out to you, and at that point, you can make the evaluation of whether or not you want to continue the relationship. It's a down and dirty, quick and fast way to pretty much stop the outflow of cash that's related to your credit cards and debit cards for your business instantly, like day one. Stops all subscription-based payments. If you're not doing this, we all have time right now to do this. This is a great opportunity, whether or not you need it. It's a great opportunity to take advantage of the circumstance to reach out to all of your credit cards, business cards, personal cards as well. Ask for a delay of interest and principal payments for 6 months. They may say, absolutely not. They may say, we actually have a program exactly like that. Thank you for asking for it, which most banks now are very willing to work with. They understand there's going to be a flush of cash into the system. So they're very willing to make sure that they're not losing the business right now, and they're willing to play kick the can with you. So if you can get a delay of interest and principal payments for 6 months, while you're at it, might as well tell them that you want to explore getting a lower interest rate simultaneously. Most banks, my wife and I have gone through this practice recently, and most banks have been very willing to accommodate those requests, and when they wouldn't have done it otherwise, let's say. A little tactic that I've been sharing, another one that I learned from Todd Herman recently, was when you're calling these vendors, if it is a service that you find to be mission critical, it is related to production of revenue for your business, or it's a key business function, call them up and ask them if you can get more value for the same price. When I say more value, like maybe they've got an additional plan. If it's a vendor, maybe they can provide more billable hours without billing. See if you can get more for the same that you're paying. And if not, get the same service for a lower price. So more for same or same for less. Those are your options. It's a very easy conversation to have. And as these things, as you do these items, what will happen is you will start to see, again, compounding, boom, boom, boom. You talk to 10, 15 vendors over the course of the thing. And each one of these things you must understand is that we're focused on extending the runway that we've got with our business. How we do that is reducing the outflow and increasing access to capital. If they aren't into a more for same or same for less, ask if you can break the payments into smaller even if you're liquid right now, these are activities that you should be pursuing for your business. See if you can break the payments into smaller, more frequent bites, because what you're doing is right now we need to be very focused on, again, if we're focusing on a daily nut, right? If we can do these things smaller, more frequent, it makes it much more likely that we'll be able to make that daily nut, right? If you have a lease for your business, for your office, obviously you're not able to enjoy the benefits of that. Maybe you are but you certainly don't have the entire team there. And even if you are able to enjoy the benefits of your office, right now would be a great time to pull a Cheesecake Factory. And again, these are strategies that I'm not giving you backdoor secrets on how to cheat the man, because you're the man, I'm the man. This is smart business. Approach the landlord and just let them know that you're going to need at least a 90-day furlough on any rent payments with no penalty. The alternative for them, if they say, no, we're going to pursue eviction, well, the courts are going to be backed up with that for a very long time. They're going to have a hard time filling the space. So this is a strategy that is, I mean, even the landlord for my office, they reached out and said proactively, if you need help, let us know. So those are some small things that will decrease the amount of cash coming out of your company instantly. Let's talk about access to capital for operations. The word that I'm hearing is if you have credit lines available, tap into them now, because what's going to happen is as the uncertainty settles in the next few months with the economy, any credit lines that you had available, whether it was an equity line of credit, a business line of credit, whatever the case might be, banks may decide it's too risky to keep extending those. We're going to close those down. Hey, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, your credit score is a 760. You've never even tapped into this credit line. Tough. We don't want to expose ourselves to the additional risk. So draw that money down and just keep it in a bank account. You don't even have to, and I would encourage you not to, well, I guess there's not a whole lot of places you can spend it right now, but have that capital available. And then the same thing, as you do the drawdown, approach the bank and say, I need more favorable terms. I need a lower interest rate. I need deferred payments, repayment, that sort of thing. These aggressive actions right now will help make sure that your business is around when the lights come back on. The recent legislation that's been passed with the CARES Act does allow you to tap into your 401k or IRA now, whether you're 59 and a half or not, up to $100,000 with no penalties. Now, you do have to pay it back within 3 years. If you pay it back on the last day of the third year, there are no penalties. As I understand it, consult a tax professional, consult your financial professional. But I've been on several calls with tax and finance professionals that handle high net worth individuals, and this is what they're telling me. So there's $100,000 if you have a 401k or IRA. There's $100,000 right now that you should probably, again, go ahead and tap into. It would be an extreme measure, but I have some of my clients are close with members of the president's cabinet, and you take everything you hear with a grain of salt, third-party information. But they did say that the freezing of bank accounts would be a highly unlikely action. The freezing of brokerage accounts and IRAs might not be as unlikely if they needed to stabilize the markets, let's say. So I would get that money out now and put it someplace where you're going to have access to it. And just smart business, diversify the holding, like where you're keeping your money. I was talking to a friend today, had a bonus, I guess it was a bonus that he received. It was a large six-figure bonus for some ass kicking that he did in the last quarter of 2019. And he's now going to diversify between national bank, local bank, credit union. So he gets the benefit of FDIC insurance through multiple accounts. And again, these are extreme things, but it's better to have it and not need it than to have needed this to occur and not have done it. So just being prudent. For those of you who don't have the credit lines, home equity lines, business credit lines, whatever the case might be, an easy way to draw down from your available credit card limits without attracting the user's interest rates for cash advances is to create an invoice from your PayPal account to your business, have your business use the card to pay the invoice on the PayPal account. Over here, it's seen as a business expense on the credit card, although you now have access to the capital minus the small fees that PayPal is charging you. So an easy way to get a cash advance from your cards without paying cash advances. Another thing that, so I'm a big fan of the Profits First accounting system. It saved my rump several years in a row when there's been big tax payments. It's been very easy for me to just write the check and do it, because in the Profits First model, if you're not familiar with it, Google it. It's probably the safest way for most entrepreneurs and owner operators to run their banking. You create separate accounts. You put a percentage allocation into those accounts every time revenue comes in and that sort of thing. One of those being a profit account, make sure that you actually have profit in your business. But one of those accounts is a tax account. Mike was suggesting, the author of Profits First was suggesting creating a COVID account if you follow the Profits First methodology, because there are going to be benefits for COVID-related expenses. So that COVID account makes it very easy at the end, when reconciliation is due, for you to be able to quickly document the COVID-related expenses, because expect there to be forgiveness and generous allowances by the government when it comes to making sure your business was still running due to COVID-related expenses. The big news is that the CARES Act was passed. I will be having a future, this week, a future live cast, webinar, whatever, with some experts to explain exactly how to tap into that money. But the SBA has been provided with $562 million for what's called an economic injury disaster loan to small businesses. It's the SBA 7A program. I've gone through the paperwork myself. It's not as painful as getting a home mortgage or anything like that. There is some paperwork that you'll need to fill out, but it's up, I think the eligibility is up to $10 million, depending on the size of your business. If you're, doing 6 figures a year in your business, it's highly likely that you're going to be getting the $10 million. And the focus of these things is to make sure that your business is an ongoing, it's a viable concern, that it continues to operate, continues to employ, continues to create and produce. There's an additional $350 billion worth of loans that are out there that will be 100% guaranteed by the SBA. And the most interesting one that I found out about through a very exuberant friend when he heard about this is that there is $10 billion in direct grants for businesses that do not qualify for the economic injury disaster loans. And essentially this is, as it was explained to me, again, I'll have an expert on later in the week, or you can pursue a dialogue with your own banker. Very short application. The application is submitted, and upon submission, very shortly thereafter, there will be a $10,000 wire sent to your business with the anticipation of the loan being approved, or the loan application being approved. Should it not be approved, that $10,000 will instantly turn into a grant to support your business. Now, this is going to be eligible to Uber drivers, like independent contractors, anybody, hairdressers, the yard guy. So the entrepreneur who has an info product and a webinar funnel and that sort of thing. So this money's being made available for us to be able to extend that runway that I was sharing with you earlier. So those are some, not an exhaustive list of things to do for sure, but hopefully that explains the two areas that we can realize a synergistic growth to that runway, and that is reducing the expenses and getting access to capital. So now let's talk about the business strategy plan for the next 90 days. As I mentioned earlier, Donald Miller from StoryBrand equated it to, we're no longer playing chess, we're playing tennis. So not only does that apply to what you're doing with your cash flow in your business, but also with how you're marketing and how you're generating sales in your business. One of the things you want to make sure is that you have a very clear understanding. Is your business positioned to your clients? Is it positioned as discretionary, as in nice to have, or as necessary, as in need to have, important for the continuity of operations for your clients, right? Some of the areas that some of the companies that are making money right now that that the marketplace is identifying as necessary, not discretionary, are businesses that are helping you save money, businesses that are helping you make money, and businesses that are helping you not be bored. So understanding those three areas are how the marketplace is qualifying a business as necessary. Think about how you can introduce that language, that narrative into your sales messaging, your copy, your conversations with clients and prospects. I was talking to Roland Frazier earlier in the week, and Roland was sharing the 4 categories of products that he sees the marketplace kind of lumping things in as, and because remember, your clients are going through their credit card statements, just like you were advised to earlier, and look for non-revenue producing, non-sales producing expenses. Your clients are going to lump your business into one of 4 categories. Category number 1, necessary. No one is cutting those off right now. How you make sure that you are necessary to your clients is that Your marketing messaging does not need to be about creating value for your clients. It needs to be about creating results. The more specific you can get in the results that you are providing for your clients in your messaging, and then your reminders of why they're doing business with you, the higher the likelihood that you'll be categorized as necessary. One of the companies that we mentioned earlier, companies that are helping you not be bored, that would fall into a category that's defined as luxury. No one's cutting those off right now. A luxury item, and I'm not talking about a Rolex, I'm not talking about the new Escalade or anything like that, but I am talking about items where people can say, man, I'm in quarantine, I deserve this. Some of those things might be a big screen TV. The kids are at home. We're spending a lot more time as a family binging on Netflix. Obviously not you and I, because a friend of mine told me once, rich people have big libraries, poor people have big TVs. But there's a lot of big TVs being sold right now, I'm sure, because that's falling into what people are qualifying as a luxury item. Another item that is not necessary but being considered a luxury item, if you're selling something that is an at-home product, specifically as it relates to keeping the family from being bored during this quarantine. Games, art supplies, things to do in the yard. The bike shop up the street, I went in last week and I was asking him, how's business going? He's like, dude, somebody must have said biking is the national sport of the coronavirus quarantine because our business is through the roof. So people are spending money on those items, considering them a luxury item. Is your business one that you can create a narrative or copy around that categorizes you as a luxury item? Postponable. If you get categorized as a postponable expense, it doesn't mean that you can't sell right now or keep those clients. It just means that you have to change. You have to be able to be flexible and pivot on what your normal sales process was with that. For instance, postponable items right now are being sold via either deep discount, extended payments, the same way that I suggested you approach your vendors. Any strategy that you're using to approach your vendors on how to get a better deal, how to get more for same or same for less, that sort of thing. On the converse of that, how can you create those opportunities for your clients? Whether you're proactive about making those offers, that's a decision that you'll need to make for your business, or you're waiting until clients are calling into customer service or submitting their emails. That may be a great time to let them know that you are either available to, or they're available to receive a deep discount or a quarantine payment plan or whatever the case might be. And then the final category, of course, would be expendable. That's something that if your business is not seen as necessary or a luxury, you're going to be categorized as expendable and you're going to be redlined. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. Okay. When it comes to the business, if you don't have a marketing plan now, bad idea. Let's do one. Let's focus on getting a marketing calendar. I don't have a template for you, but if you go to Google and you look at your GCal, there's a template right there. It's a calendar, right? The purpose behind the calendar is that we're playing tennis, as I mentioned earlier, right? So things are moving a lot quicker. So we're not focused as much on what does next quarter's promotional cycle look like. We're talking about meeting that daily nut. What are we doing on a day-to-day basis, okay? The easiest way to make sure that things are happening on a day-to-day basis as it comes to making offers, communicating with your clients and that sort of thing is to have a calendar broken up into daily activities, shared with anybody on the team so that everybody knows where to look to see what's happening. Everybody knows what they need to do and they can see it on one doc. Some questions you need to ask yourself to fill out a very robust marketing calendar would be, what are we selling? Those are your own products. Identify those products. And then on that calendar, post what you believe to be an expected revenue from that promotion, okay? So that you can start to map out not only the marketing, but the cash flow environment as well. Also, what offers are we promoting for others, right? Another thing to add to your marketing calendar is who's promoting our stuff today. So those are three different areas where you can make sure that you are on a daily basis. You've mapped out how to meet that daily nut. And it's very easy if you map this out. And I know, look, man, maybe it's a pain in the ass to do it 90 days out. Start with the next week, right? Because again, tennis, we're pivoting quickly. In the next week, if you map out whose stuff am I promoting, what products am I selling, and who's promoting my things, and what's the expected revenue for each, it's very easy to start to ballpark, am I meeting my daily nut? And the marketing calendar is a great way for you to identify gaps. And we're going to cover some strategies on how to cover those gaps real quick. Make offers. You've probably got a product catalog now. Hopefully it's more robust than one or two products. And if whether it is or isn't, move into creator mode ASAP. And understand as you're making these products, people don't need more info. They need results. They need help applying the information. So if you can create these new product lines, product categories that take those two things in account, you're going to have a higher likelihood of market viability for those new products. Some ideas for some products that I've seen people doing are ad hoc live streams. For instance, I'm not charging for this. I'm not going to be charging for the conversation that we're going to have with a financial professional talking about the SBA loans later in the week. But it is totally reasonable for you to say, I'm going to be doing a Zoom, and we'll talk about that in the messaging, why Zoom is important. But I'm going to be doing a Zoom on 3 ways to get X result in your business in the next week, right? Could be a micro pricing. It can be a $7, $47, whatever the case might be, because understand that what people pay for, they pay attention to. If you continue to create free, that's great. There's a lot of free in the marketplace right now, which was also great. And hopefully you're consuming that stuff when you get the chance. But it's a great way for you to, when you find those gaps in the marketing calendar, say on Thursday, we don't have any, like we've exhausted our product catalog. We're going to be doing a live stream. We're going to be charging X dollars for it. Here's how we're going to market it. Another thing is, rather than, look, advertise, from everything that I'm hearing, advertising is cheap. Perry Marshall was quoted as even saying that he's seeing prices that he hasn't seen since 2013. We'll talk about the reasons why advertising has gotten so cheap right now. But the most valuable asset that you have right now is your existing customer list. So identify, and we're going to talk about this concept of one step back. Identify products that we can target exclusively and especially to our existing clients. So this concept of one step back, what that means is, okay, let's say whatever your service is, your team right now may have bandwidth or idle time because there's been a slowdown in business or whatever the case might be. Can you, maybe you didn't do this before, but can you now start offering your clients, I guess for most of us, a skill or a service that would be relevant would be, can you offer your clients funnel building service? Maybe that's something you've never done before, but we're in times that we've never seen before. And again, we're playing tennis. So we're looking at ways to start to fill the gaps on that marketing calendar so that we can meet the daily nut, extend the cash runway. Noah Kagan was sharing a few ideas. CTO for hire. Is there something you can do in your business or for your clients or even new clients? Obviously, if you're on this right now, you're probably a digital marketer and you understand marketing tech stacks a lot better than the average business that's really having to pivot. And their workforce is now being sent home. There's huge opportunities for you to share experiences to be able to help them make that transition. It may not be in your core catalog of products, but if you find yourself in a situation where there's gaps in revenue, these are some ideas. Again, help event companies move online. I've mentioned a few times in some recent content I've created was that I attended a virtual summit held by a guy named Taki Moore, and it was fantastic. It was well structured, it was well executed, and I think the there wasn't any discount. I didn't get a discount because I didn't go attend the live event in Santa Monica. So there's a huge opportunity for you to help those companies make a pivot because, again, you understand technology and marketing and the online infrastructure and ecosystem much better than most companies do. Something interesting that I saw that is an idea that's going to allow you to create an additional stream of income. There's a company called Privy.com, and their CMO is a guy named Dave Gerhardt. And I'm not able to pull these things up right now to share my screen, but Dave made a post in LinkedIn about his a micro subscription that he had created in a service called Patreon, Patreon.com, Patreon.com. And it is so essentially I'm paying $10 a month, and so are 711 other people as of this recording that are paying Dave $10 a month for him to just go into Patreon and, hey guys, I was just on the phone with XYZ, the CMO at Drift, and here's what they were saying about what they're doing right now. So it's like a one-to-many environment, but in a micro subscription way. And in his case, he's a CMO, so it makes sense for him to be sharing marketing things, but whatever your skill set could be, there is an opportunity. Again, these things aren't about scaling. These things are about making sure that the business is stable and that daily nut is being met. Everything we can do to add on is the daily nut is being met. If you have not been very strong in affiliate outreach, dude, now is the time. And I'll tell you why. I have friends and I'm an investor in telephone sales floors, right? And the contact rates are through the roof because everybody's at home. Nobody's out playing golf. Nobody's at the grocery store being like, I can't talk to you right now. They're sitting at home. So as it applies to telephone sales, it also applies to any outreach that you make. And we're going to talk about a messaging strategy for that shortly in the third part of the 90-day plan. But those companies that you'd be reaching out to, they're probably focused on stabilization right now as well. So just as we identified 3 different categories on your marketing calendar, you can now be one of the categories on their marketing calendar. They promote you, and also a great time for you to reach out and say, hey, I've got bandwidth in my list. I'm going to start promoting. I'd like to start promoting your stuff. At that point, it's easy. It's not required that there be reciprocity, but it's an easy conversation to have reciprocal drops. And reach out to canceled customers and offer them something insane, some screaming deal to sign back up, to reach, to re-engage with your company or your product or service. Okay. Oh shit, I can't. There is a process that I was going to show you, but I can't. Okay, so I guess we'll just do this audibly. It's time for a deep dive into the results that your company has been getting from your marketing over the past, let's take a look at the past 12 months. In particular, what I want you to do is take a look at all of the assets that you have at your disposal in your business. And when I say assets, I don't mean capital, cash. I mean things such as all of the email prospect databases, all of the email customer databases, your Facebook groups or engaged audiences, Instagram, podcast downloads, YouTube subscribers, YouTube engaged audiences, anything like that. Let's get them somewhere where we can identify those assets. Let's take a look at historically what the monthly website visits have been, any sales funnels from past to present, ad campaigns from past and present, email sequences past and present, sales processes past and present. And the reason that we're going to do this is because maybe you've heard me say this before, but when I used to work with the guys at Digital Marketer, it was a joke in the office when somebody would say, hey man, I got this great idea. And somebody else would say, you know what, didn't we do that and it worked? And we go, oh, we'd look back and we'd say, oh yeah. And the response to that was, it worked so well, we never did it again, right? You've done that. As entrepreneurs, what we do is we're like Kern has this model of state that he talks about: stabilize, optimize, expand. Most entrepreneurs, expansion is all they're thinking about. They're not focused on stabilizing, then optimizing a proven process, and then focusing on scaling that process or creating new process. So as a result, as you go back through this deep dive of the historic information in your business, you're going to find a month where you're like, holy smokes, what are we doing that month? You're going to go back and take a look at your ads, take a look at your emails, and you go, oh, we ran that affiliate product or whatever. Man, like, why haven't we done that since? So this is a great opportunity for you to do a deep dive into those elements of your business. We're going to take a look at every product that you have that's sellable, every service. We mentioned a few even new services that you might be able to sell to your client base. Everything that you could create, every product you could create, and every service you could create for your clients. When it comes to revenue, and I'm referencing a doc here that I was going to show you online, but technology is not cooperating. Look for what were the biggest, over the past 12 to 18 months, let's take a look at what revenue-wise, what were the biggest months. Start at the biggest month, and let's really do a deep dive on that month. What did we do differently that month? Why was this the biggest month? Why was it an outlier, right? And do that again. Whatever worked in that big month, let's do it again. Now's a great time. So we're going to look at past revenue. We're going to look at the biggest month, second biggest, third business, rank them down, and then really do evaluate. And can you take that month, that was the big month, and can you take whatever you did to market and plug that right into your marketing calendar right away? What was the per product revenue breakdown for the biggest month? The second biggest month, the third biggest month, right? So we're looking at what those products were. Past promotions, what were the ads and promotions that we ran during that month? What did we run during the second biggest month, the third biggest month? If you go through that process alone, you're going to find, without creating anything new, really, you're going to find some gems that you forgot, some real winners that, because you were probably focused on expansion, like most entrepreneurs, rather than stabilization, those products or those campaigns didn't get into a regular rotation. Let's take a look at that stuff. Pricing. I get a lot of questions about what I should do with my pricing right now during this situation. Some advice would be that if you drop your prices now for your existing products, if it's necessary for you to stabilize, it's necessary for you to stabilize. However, when the business recovers, when the economy recovers and things start to get back to normal, it may be hard for you to go back to your clients and say, hey, that thing that you were paying X for, well, now we're going to charge you 4X, which is our real price. And an example would be, it may not be relevant necessarily to the digital marketing businesses that are on this. However, the example that was given to me was a fine dining restaurant. The fine dining restaurant is thriving right now, but not because they're selling their fine dining meals at a discount. Because once the economy recovers and people come back, they're gonna be, why am I paying X for this lobster? I used to pay X minus, during the thing, same lobster. What they did was they're still selling food, but they created hamburgers, right? Fine dining hamburgers, a category they didn't have on their menu prior. They're still viable. They're still able to service their businesses. They're still able to put the level of high quality ingredients and that sort of thing that people would expect in fine dining, but it's not an apples to apples comparison to their old menu. Consider how you can do that. The only thing that I would give away for free would be something that would encourage consumption or loyalty to your brand. Challenges right now, 5-day challenges, week-long challenges. Again, because we're playing tennis and so is everybody else, I wouldn't focus necessarily on a 30-day challenge. People right now are looking for bite-sized results. What can I do in the next hour? What can I do in the next 3 days? What can I do this week that I'm going to see a result at the end of it that was promised at the beginning of the challenge? Can you, this is the same thing, we just talked about this, can you break your payments for your products into smaller, more frequent bites for your customers? It makes it a lot your product's a lot more accessible to a certain demographic of the audience. However, I do know a lot of businesses right now that are having zero drop in business or even an increase in business and have not dropped their prices at all. If you are going to drop prices on products, a suggestion would be to create, again, this is the hamburger example, a new category of product that didn't exist prior, so that there's no relationship, there's no pricing relationship between where it was and where it is today. Hey, this is a new product we're doing exclusively for these tough times. And then finally, we're going to talk about the messaging plan for your 90-day war plan. This is a time for amplified communication with your prospects, your suspects, your clients, your team, okay? Especially with your team and your top clients. It's important right now to let your key players know that there's job security. If in fact there is job security, if you've done your 90-day war plan, you've built in your thresholds on if revenue hits X, I have to make these choices. If revenue drops below Y, I have to make these choices. To share with your key players that there is some job security, because right now, you as, whether or not you feel like it, you're a leader. And employees don't necessarily take on the mantle of leadership. So they're going to be looking to you for guidance on how to behave, what emotions they need to have. If you're fearful, of course, that's going to be reflected in how your team communicates with you and communicates with your clients, which right now you want your team communicating with your clients with extreme optimism. What was the key word? A fountain of positivity. And then obviously when you're talking to your top clients, and those are the 80-20 clients, the outreach to them, we're going to talk about the methods and the mechanics of it, but the dialogue needs to be ensuring them how necessary your business is to their business surviving and thriving, right? I mentioned that leadership, right? That description of who you need to become right now. Your new job, right, in addition to making sure the lights stay on in the business, is to coach your market. Be a fountain of positivity and share what you're excited about, because this messaging is going to stand out. Right now, there's a lot of fear in the marketplace. There's a lot of people saying, hey guys, we're going to get through this. That's value, not result, right? In your leadership communication, being a coach to the market, being a fountain of positivity, and sharing what you're excited about is going to position you, especially if you talk about, you share with them results-focused content, okay? And it's important that you also teach your team how to communicate to your clients and prospects as well. In the absence of direction from you, your customer service, your sales reps, whatever, they're going to create their own characteristics of communication with your clients and prospects. Don't leave any discretion in that environment. Share with them exactly how you want them communicating with your prospects and clients. Make that very clear that they're to be a fountain of positivity. It's important right now that as you're having these communications with your, particularly with your existing customers, that most marketers hate the fact that one-to-one is not scalable. We're always looking for a way to do one-to-many. I'm not gonna say the lazy way, but maybe like the way to leverage technology to get the biggest bang. Right now, again, we're not focused on scale. We're focused on stabilizing. How we're going to stabilize is by doing things that we wouldn't do in an environment of expansion and scaling. And that looks like reaching out to your top clients, just like I'm doing now with a video. An email sucks. You're going to get lost with all those other emails that say, in these times of COVID-19, our company is maintaining the same kind of corporate BS that everybody else is sending. By you reaching out saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you got a minute? I'd like to just check in with you and kind of share with you why you need us. It's going to be done via video right now, or voice memos. Even all of us, iPhones and whatnot. You can do the voice memo. In time, and last month before that, people are busy and all that kind of stuff. Maybe they didn't have time to listen to a voice memo. Now we all have a lot more time, and those human efforts, right, are going to stand out. You're not going to be another email that's sharing your COVID-19 policy. You're going to be, hey man, I'm checking in on you because we care, right? Facebook Lives to your community. If you're not doing these now, create a group for your clients, get them in there and communicate with them on a daily basis. High frequency, multiple times a day. If there's important things that you can share with them, you're not going to, they won't be fatigued by your communication right now. Facebook usage is up 80%, 62 million new Zoom users in the month. This is how people are conducting themselves now. It's the human way. It's not broad. Marketing environment sometimes, sure, absolutely. With your marketing calendar, you need to do broadcasts. But with your top clients, the ones that you want to make sure you don't want to lose, you communicate with them as we're doing right now. The messaging that you are having with them needs to be contextual, not fearful, but it does take into account the current context of everybody's at home, we're bored, we're probably putting on weight, whatever the case might be, drinking too much, whatever the case might be. Because, and how you're going to do that right now is take a look at any leveraged messaging environments you have, such as autoresponder series, and evaluate every single one of those messages. Because a friend of mine, Charles Kirkland, made a post on Facebook the other day about how he got a message, obviously an autoresponder, that said it was a message talking about how this guy was partying in Times Square, and if you conducted your business the way that he teaches, you too could be partying in Times Square. Nobody wants to be partying in Times Square today. What happens is that your messaging at that point, if you don't catch those things, tone deaf to say the least, irrelevant, and quite possibly will get you ignored by your future messaging, ignored by that reader. And the language needs to be, this is something that was shared by Todd Herman as well. He put up an image of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs on the screen. And he identified that during, last month, we were probably doing messages that said, hey, like if you want to achieve status, if you want significance and things like that, here's what you do. Right now, most of all of us aren't focused on status or significance. We're lower down in that hierarchy where we're looking more for love and connection. And then even below that, we're looking for security and certainty. If you're not communicating with your prospects and the market at large with where they are on that hierarchy, there's going to be a lack of resonance between and synchronicity between your messages and the outcome that you're looking to elicit and where they are in life, what they're thinking about right that moment, right? You want to enter the conversation that's occurring in your client's head, market's head, right? How you do that is meet them where they are. And they are not looking for the Ferrari or the Lamborghini right now, or the laptop lifestyle, right? They don't want to be on the beach with all the spring breaker COVIDiots, I think is the term that's being used. What do I make content about? Again, results-focused things with an optimistic flavor, right? And record everything. And take a look at your existing content now that you sell, and repurpose that content into bite-sized chunks and give that stuff away. Moving to free line is something that, at least with some of your content, if you can, is an incredible way to build that goodwill and establish the authority in the marketplace in the leadership position when most people are looking for that right now. So that would be the outline for your 90-day war plan. And I want to ask you a question. 90 days is great, but what's your plan for the rest of the year, right? Once you get the 90-day plan, once you get this week mapped out, let's start thinking about what you're going to do for the rest of the year, because all indicators are that there will be a very steep recovery. And if you don't have the inventory ready for that, if you've laid everybody off and then you have to ramp back up, you're going to miss that pivot point. I'm here to make sure that you're ready when those lights come back on. So I would invite you to reach out if you want to discuss what that looks like, how we can work together to get not only your 90-day plan squared away, make sure that your business is stabilized, and maybe even in the next 90 days, go beyond stabilization to optimization and quite possibly expansion. But most certainly, at some point in this year, it's going to be the moment, and you're going to go, dude told me about it. The dude with that badass mustache, that badass quarantine mustache told me about it, and I didn't listen. If you need help, I'm here. So look, I'm going to take a look at Facebook. If there's any questions, I want to answer those questions. Let's see here. Omar, what up? Anybody that's watching this, I would love it if you gave a like, a share, anything like that that's going to help get this message out. Yeah, people are settling debt for 10 to 30 cents on the dollar. Yeah, confirmation. So if you have any questions, post them here. I'd love to be able to answer those questions for you. If not, look, how you can get in touch with me. You can shoot me a direct mail or a direct message. You can go to chrisdaigle.com. You can shoot me an email at Dr. Daigle, D-O-C-T-O-R, Daigle.com. Shoot me a DM, however you want to do it. But look, thanks for joining me. I'm going to be dropping some more nugs like this on all of you who like nug. And in particular, watch for this week. I'm going to have some experts that are going to be sharing exactly what you need to do to tap into all of this money that the government is making available for folks like you and me, so that we can thrive and stabilize and thrive. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining me. And if you have any questions, you know how to get me. Stay safe and stay sane. Thanks, guys. Bye.